Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 520 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology for Sunday, February 10th, 2019. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Sprint wants AT&T to tell the truth, Microsoft wants everybody to use Xbox Live, and Disney wants to show you other people's content. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus for a couple more weeks, or Snapchat, or on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Periscope, Mixer, Twitch, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, or on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of others like Spotify and TuneIn Radio, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Like I said, this here is F5 Live, the flagship show in the PLUGHITZ Live family of content. There are two ways that you can join us. The first is on any of those syndication platforms that I mentioned. You can go to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe and see all of the ways that you can listen or watch the show. But you can also join us live on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. And there you can chat with us in the studio during the show, which we always love. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. And if you have insight into the topics, we will include you on the show. The best way to do that is on Mixer, on Twitch, or on YouTube Live. Those are the chat rooms I can see right now. So if you're watching live, definitely jump on one of those platforms and talk to us during the show, which we always appreciate. So I think that's the spiel. Abram, how are you doing this evening?
Good.
Did you have a good weekend last weekend? Once we had it off.
Yeah, it was fine. You know, spent some quality time with my family, which is always the most important thing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much my weekend. This weekend too, we took my son to the movies.
Nice.
See the Lego movie. It's the first time we've actually taken him to the movies in his life. I mean, he went to, well, I wouldn't say in his life, when he was a really little baby. We took the movies, but other than that, it's the first time we've taken movies. Really sat through a whole movie, so that was cool. And
did he like the movie?
Yeah, we took him to see the new Lego movie. He really wanted to see it, so if he didn't like it, we would have had problems.
I had a feeling he was going to like that one. Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was good. It's good.
I've heard that it's right up there with the first one.
Yeah, it's good. It's good like the first. It's good like the first one. Not as good as the Lego Batman movie, but what can you do?
Well, my weekend's been a little different. I've been producing content this weekend. A lot of it. I've done some unboxings. If you guys follow us on YouTube, you'll find a lot of new unboxings. There's been a whole bunch of stuff from Monster. If you're watching us, you can see me looking off the screen because there's a whole stack of products here in the studio from those unboxings I did, and those have been published I think this weekend. And then I just filmed one right before Abram and I got on the call. It's for an Edifier speaker, like desktop speakers, and I've always been a big fan of Edifier, so I cannot wait to test these things out because they look really cool. They've got one little oddity to them. They come with you remember how like 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of PC speakers came with a little like control puck that you could like change the volume and stuff without having to reach over to the speakers?
Yep.
Well, this has that, but it's wireless, and it looks like it's done with infrared, which is bizarre to me. Because that means that the speaker has to be in line of the puck, which for my setup, it definitely wouldn't be. So that's unfortunate. It's the only way you can change the source, from what I can tell. You can't do it on the speaker, so that's a little odd. Anyway, that review and a number of others, some stuff from My Charge and stuff will be going up this week too. So this week or next week. So that's mostly been my week. I've also been fighting a headache, so if I zone out for a moment at any point this evening, that is probably why. So. It is what it is. It's better to do it during the weekend than when I'm on the clock for a client. So, oh well. Anyway, with that, let's get into some news. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for Office, a Surface laptop, a Surface Book, an Xbox, either S or X, or a myriad of other products from all of their partners, HP, Lenovo, Samsung, all available now. There's a number of deals going on, as there always are. PCs on sale, Xboxes coming with extra games. You can save on the Fallout 76 bundle. You can save $100 and get an extra free game. And there's a whole lot more. And all of those deals are available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Speaking of deals over there, I know Satya Nadella recently announced that the focus of Cortana was going to change, but the Cortana-powered Harman Kardon Invoke is $49 right now. So,
yeah, well,
and it's a great Bluetooth speaker for $50. It's a great Bluetooth speaker, and the Cortana stuff, just the ability to change the volume by voice for $50. It's an amazing speaker. Anyway,
yeah, I mean that's Here's an interesting question. If you buy more than one of them, can you use them as a multi-room audio?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I've only had one of them. But I have a feeling I'm about to have 3 of them. So we'll find out in the near future. Because at $50 for a Bluetooth speaker of Harman Kardon quality, it's pretty hard to turn down that price. So
yeah, Microsoft is really exiting Cortana in a big way,
in a disappointing way, but it is what it is. I think we all know that that's their game lately. Anyway, let's talk about the future instead of the past. Let's talk about 5G and compare it to the past. How's that sound? During the 3G to 4G conversion, we had an interesting situation. It was that T-Mobile rebranded their 3G HSPA Plus network as 4G, which it wasn't. And the industry got mad. Some of the industry got mad. A surprising number of people at CES that year, I heard, defending the move, which was a tremendous amount of fun to get into conversations. I believe that was the same year that Avram and I met, which made for, it was just a really fun CES for us. Anyway, that we had some interesting conversations with people sitting in hallways, and Avram knows how CES goes. You end up sitting next to people in hallways and having conversations, and that was kind of our focus that year, because we thought that calling HSPA Plus 4G was weird and
deceptive.
Yeah, misleading for sure, deceptive almost certainly, because what T-Mobile was trying to say was that the speeds on their HSPA Plus network were fast enough to fall into the 4G speed category, though it wasn't the new technology. So, it was weird. Well, fast forward to right now, and we're going through a new transition, the LTE to 5G, the 4G to 5G transition, and AT&T saw what T-Mobile did last time and went, that's a great idea. And so they have actually rebranded their LTE Advanced network as 5GE, the E standing for evolution, which I suppose is a little less deceptive on on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe this is an 8 instead of a 9 because it's the evolution to 5G. I mean, if you were to argue it in court, maybe you could get away with that. But AT&T is going to have that opportunity to argue that in court because Sprint has sued them over deceptive practices and false advertising, claiming, seemingly rightly so, that by claiming that they have a 5G network and that they are that much further ahead of the other three, that it would put the other three at a disadvantage and could even significantly harm the potential merger between Sprint and T-Mobile coming up. Which all sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, I guess the question is, what industry standard do they have to meet to be actually considered 5G?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah. Like, can they get away with the claim that the speeds are equivalent? Which, by the way, they're not. LTE Advanced maxes out far below what 5G mins at. So,
yeah, but for sure it's deceptive, and for sure they're trying to make people feel they're providing the E gives them plausible deniability. Basically, we didn't mean for you to get. If you think this was really 5G, that's your fault.
That's totally how I feel like they're going to play it.
And I feel like there's a good chance they could win in court because, it is. I think there's a good chance that they could win in court, but I'm no lawyer. But I do think it's kind of deceptive. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would be wise for them. I think it would be nice for the industry if they would not use that type of terminology.
Mm-hmm.
It waters it down because then are the competitors going to do that next? Right. So
with T-Mobile, they never did. The last time nobody else did it, it was just T-Mo. But at the time, T-Mobile had like 18 subscribers, and the other three weren't, quite as concerned. I mean, in 2010, was Alltel even still around? Like, I think Alltel was still around. There were a lot more brands out there, and T-Mobile was number 4 of 5. And there was no concern over what T-Mobile was doing. I don't think John Legere had taken over yet. There was no fear about the T-Mobile of 2010.
Right.
Like there is today. The fear of T-Mobile is very different today. If they were to have pulled that today, you might see a different response. But AT&T, it's AT&T. They're the Death Star.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's. I mean, I think they have a good chance of. I think this could go either way because yes, it's deceptive, but they also have very plausible deniability, because they put the little E in there.
Uh-huh.
So, I think they may yet get away with it. But it's not good, and people should, if nothing else, hopefully the publicity of the lawsuit would educate people that this is not actually 5G.
Right, exactly. And, worst case scenario, the fact that like you said, that Sprint is calling attention to it in the public eye might be enough to inform some people. But here's something to remember, I think. When we're this far out from an actual rollout of a new technology like this, no software update is going to suddenly make your phone on the new network. Let me promise you on that. Because the 5G towers are going to be in place well before mass market phones start hitting. So if you ever see... in 8 years, if we start playing this game again, no software update to your phone is going to add new network capabilities. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. You've had your phone for a year, and all of a sudden it says it's 5G. It's a lie.
Right. Well, are they really going to do that? I thought they were just going to play that on new phones, but I guess
nope. iPhones just got the update. The 12.2 beta has it built into the existing iPhones.
Oh, that's really bad because it also it deceives people about how. I mean, not like it's going to happen that often, but how generational upgrades work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably my biggest concern. It's not just that new phones are going to have it, or that there's TV commercials that are being deceptive or something like that. That they're literally trying to convince people through software updates that their phone is on a new network. That is so wrong.
Yeah, I also wonder, are there even any phones on the market right now that are supposed to be 5G ready? I don't think there are.
No.
Right? The rumor is that Samsung might be the first.
Yeah.
With some version of the S10. That was a rumor I saw.
Yeah, but, I've seen that a couple of times, and Apple has all but confirmed that they will not be this generation. But that's not a surprise either.
Apple's a late adopter of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we will. We'll have to see, but yeah, I wouldn't. My advice to anybody who's shopping for a phone, don't wait for 5G. Don't worry about it. It's going to be years before. It's going to be years.
Yeah.
Before it's mainstream enough for people to use.
For it to matter.
And frankly, the today's 4G is pretty good. The main issue is not the speed, but the reception.
The consistency.
The consistency. So I don't know. I mean, obviously 5G is supposed to be better in every way, but that all remains to be seen.
Yeah, only time will tell on that.
Yeah.
And like you said, I remember when LTE and WiMAX, the two 4G technologies, were first rolled out. I mean, we got lucky here. Tampa tends to be a test market, so we got lucky, and we had some WiMAX phones in our store before the technology was quote unquote available, and they all worked. But that's an oddball situation. For the most part, most of the country won't see 5G hit, certainly this year. Probably won't see it through the mid of next year. So yeah, if you're shopping for a phone now, don't let it bother you, because you'll be well into your next into the next phone before you'll have reception for it, and ready for your next phone before it'll even potentially matter. So
yep.
This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're buying a new computer, building a new computer, or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has all of the parts to make that possible. Whether you're looking for great deals on RAM, hard drives, SSDs, monitors, cases, all of that are available through Newegg, and they do daily deals. And one of those daily deals right now, if you're building a NAS drive or something like that, they've got a Western Digital 10 gig drive for $375, which is a crazy price for something like that. They've also got some high-speed RAM, 16 gig for $85. Plus, they've got a whole bunch of other stuff. And again, the deals change every day. Sometimes these little shell shocker deals will go quicker than that. So definitely keep checking back, and you can do all of that by going to pilchpoint.live/newegg. 10 gig drive, huh? That's crazy. Anyway, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go the other way. Let's talk small things, Avram.
Yes. So, if you've been listening to this to our show for a while, you know one of my hobbies, one of my obsessions, the last few year or so has been trying to build stuff with Raspberry Pi, so here I have one. It's Raspberry Pi Zero W, but I wanted to talk a little bit about. I got the opportunity to interview Evan Upton, who is the founder of Raspberry Pi. Invented the first, worked with the team, invented the first one, and also is currently he's the CEO of Raspberry Pi Limited, which actually develops the Pis, and which is owned by the Pi Foundation, which is the overarching brand that makes Raspberry Pi. Anyway, I had a chance to talk to him a couple weeks ago and got some really great information about where this has been and where it's going. So, one thing that's really interesting, did you know the first Raspberry Pi came out in 2012, 7 years ago, and originally the original plan was that the Raspberry Pi group, they only wanted to make 1,000 of them. And their only goal in developing the Raspberry Pi was to increase computer science applications to Cambridge University.
Wow.
That's it. They had been receiving like 650 applications a year, and then it dropped to like 200 something. And so Eben and his team decided, hey, if we get more hackable computers into the hands of young people, then we'll be able to increase the amount of applications at Cambridge.
Wow.
Because all this company is based in England. So anyway,
what an interesting origin story.
So that was their origin story, and then they found out, because there were just so many people who were interested in it, that they could no way make them just manufacture themselves. They kind of outsourced the manufacturing of it, and I guess the rest is history, sort of.
Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting to know also is when they were first designing it, they had no idea that this was going to become so popular with the maker community. So there have been almost 25 million Raspberry Pis sold as of now, and the making it one of the most popular computers of all time. So, I mean, depending on how you measure, I guess, a computer.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's when they first started building it, they didn't realize that, hey, they thought kids are going to get a kick out of this. They didn't realize that people would be able to use them to create all kinds of Internet of Things projects, robots, all that kind of stuff. But Eben went to a maker fair in New York, and he saw all kinds of people doing crazy stuff, and then he realized like how important that was. And you see that one of the things that really makes Raspberry Pi such a cool thing to use is the set of 40 pins.
Yeah.
So you can see here, this one I had to solder them onto the Pi Zero, but regular Raspberry Pis come with them on, and you use these. These are GPIO pins, general purpose input output pins, and you can use them to control lights, to control motors, to control, to take input from sensors, to do all kinds of stuff that you can't do with your regular PC. So you take one of these, the Pi Zero, you can get it for $5, or the full Raspberry Pi that's much more powerful for $35 or so. And you can build something of really great, great power and performance. You know, behind me in the corner, I have the RetroPie system that I built.
Mm-hmm.
They use a full Raspberry Pi, and that can play all kinds of arcade games. So obviously, this is a great thing to get into, but they had no idea it was going to be used by makers like that. Um, it's all they continue to target $35 as the maximum price for Raspberry Pi. And at one time, apparently, Upton was working on the Raspberry Pi 2. We're now up to the third. We're now on the third generation of Raspberry Pi. For those not keeping track, and he was working on the second gen, and he met Eric Schmidt from Google and showed it to him. And he said, "Here's this Raspberry Pi 2 I'm working on, and it's going to cost more money." And apparently Schmidt said, "You're an idiot. You have to make it. People want cheaper stuff." And he went back home, and went back to the drawing board, and figured out a way to make the Raspberry 2 cost only $35.
Wow.
So so it's, and they're very parsimonious with that $35. One of the things that I asked Upton when I had a chance was, how come there's no power switch? There's no power switch on any of these Raspberry Pis.
Mm-hmm.
You want to turn it on, you plug. You want to turn it on, plug in your micro USB. You want to turn it off, you should probably shut down the operating system, but then unplug the USB. Um, so he said that that's a feature that maybe 10% of people would use, and for 10% of people using it, that's not enough. And for a lot of people, when they're building their own stuff, they can make their own on-off button, because you can attach a button to any of the pins here, and then you can program it to do on-off through that. So um,
fair enough.
So that's how a lot of people are building things with it. Speaking of building things with it, about half of the people who buy it now, the customers, are industrial. Their companies building the Pi into something else. Um, so and that is one reason why you'll notice, if you go to the raspberrypi.org site, they are still selling the Raspberry and manufacturing the Raspberry Pi 1 and 2, even though they're way out of date. And unless you have some really urgent need to use one as a drop-in replacement for one you had, I wouldn't recommend buying an old one. But they're still selling them, and actually not for any. I don't think for any cheaper either. So, but they don't like to end of life products. They said there's a lot of people who really depend on stuff being available. So even when the next generation Raspberry Pi 4 comes out, you'll still be able to get your 3 and your 2 and your 1. And speaking about the 4, everyone is really looking forward to what the next generation of Raspberry Pi is. I certainly am. And so I have an article up on Tom's Hardware right now where we talk about all of the things that we know about the Raspberry Pi 4. Unfortunately, it seems like it's not going to be coming out this year, and Upton and his team are still making decisions about it. So I think he was very open with me about what their thinking is, but they haven't really finalized on anything. So he does believe that it will be. They have to do a die shrink. Right now, all Raspberry Pis have been 40 nanometer. They have to go down to maybe 28 nanometer or less, but higher than 7 nanometer, because apparently 7 nanometer they can't get the type of voltage handling that they want inexpensively at 7 nanometer. It will not. They are really determined to keep the price the same, and they're really determined to keep the size the same or smaller. They don't want it to get bigger. And he's pretty happy with the mix of ports that the full Raspberry Pi has. But we did talk about what he thinks of USB Type-C, which is something I'd like to see on the Raspberry Pi. And he's a little less bullish on it than I am. He said it would be good to have, possibly because it enables more power delivery, but he doesn't think that the Type-C plug is as rugged as is as durable as micro USB, which is something I hadn't heard before.
That's an interesting thought.
That's something I had not heard before
No.
from anybody. Uh, in my experience, Type C has been pretty good, but he said the environments that people use these in, he thinks that Type C might not be durable enough, but he does like it for power delivery. Um, so there's a possibility of Type C. The other thing is, for sure, what they're going for is more RAM, faster processor, and faster I/O, which are all significant issues that are lacking right now. Right? The current top of the line Raspberry Pi, the 3B Plus, has only 1 gig of RAM. It's a quad core processor that operates at 1.4 gigahertz, and the entire bus is USB 2, so no USB 3. Um, you can't use particularly fast peripherals. So, those are all things that, uh, you know, that they want, that they want. I think every person who is a fan of Raspberry Pi would want also. So, um, that's kind of what we're expecting.
That's reasonable
Out of the next gen Pi. But if you want to get involved, enjoy the current Gen Pi, which you shouldn't wait because the new one's not coming for at least a year, um, then I highly recommend. There are a lot of great online resources um, to teach you about this. You can, if you're in the United States and you live near a micro center, that is the best place to buy your Raspberry Pi. There are many great kits on Amazon and Newegg, but Micro Center is selling them almost like below cost. So, but you have to go into the store to do it. So the so the Pi Zero W, the wireless version of this one I'm holding right here is $5. The full Pi 3B Plus I think is $30, and the somewhat mid-range 3A Plus I think is $20. So really good deals on those. Obviously, you've got to power them with USB. You've got to find a way of attaching keyboard and screen, or you could do what I do most of the time and remote control them using VNC. But they're a lot of fun. You could do a lot with them, and they're great to work on with your kids. My son and I are always working on projects with them, whether we're trying to make like a little traffic light where the lights change from red to green, or right now we're working on trying to create a universal controller for a bunch of his Lego power-up toys that all use Bluetooth LE. Because you can send
Nice.
Bluetooth LE from this,
Nice.
and if you know what codes to send, then you can then control it from another device, such as a Raspberry Pi. So our goal is we're going to take this, we're going to attach a joystick to it and some buttons, and we're going to use this as a controller to control like his Lego Boost robot and his Lego Batman car and other things. So, the biggest downer, which is another thing he said that they haven't put on, is an analog to digital converter. If you want to convert analog to digital, you have to buy, an add-on chip. Um, and that can be a pain when you're doing things like using joysticks, because those are analog, so you have to convert in some way. But I strongly encourage everybody to read. Tomorrow I have a more detailed story, 10 things you didn't know about Raspberry Pi, and we already have up the story on the Pi 4, and at Tom's Hardware, we're committed. We're going to have a lot more Pi stories, cool. Not just about it, not just news, but like how to use it going up, because it's a lot of fun, and it's a great challenge.
And one of the things that I think has made Raspberry Pi so successful is the fact that you can use it from so many different environments, right? Like you can even install Windows 10 IoT Core on there. So if you want to run entirely in a Microsoft environment, you can put IoT Core on there. You can You can program it directly in C or C++. You can, there's all kinds of ways to interact with it and different ways to put it to use. So you don't have to wrap your head so much around it as you can make it fit into your environment. And I think that's been a huge selling point for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot. It's very, very flexible. You can get Windows 10 IoT Core, but just to clarify for our audience, that's not Windows 10.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get it. You don't get Windows and a start menu and get to move around. That's purely for running programs on it that you've created on another computer to do IoT stuff. Basically probably do a lot with these input-output pins, right? Generally on the official operating system, which is called Raspbian, you would probably use Python use Python language to do most of that. But there's other operating systems for it, and I'm still holding out the hope that someday Microsoft will release a version of Windows that would run a full Windows that would run on Raspberry Pi. I mean, I don't know if people would pay for the Windows, so maybe that would be a downer for them. But they already have Windows on ARM, so I don't know how hard it would be for them to make it work on Raspberry Pi. And Upton says he would certainly welcome them doing it, even though they're big members of the open source community. They're definitely not opposed to Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft is officially the largest contributor to the open source community, so it would be weird for them to be opposed to it at this point.
Yeah.
But
there's some Linux geeks out there who have their feelings.
Indeed,
right?
Indeed they do.
About
perhaps when the whatever it ends up being branded, the Windows Lite that they're working on internally, that might be the version that finally is able to run on something like the Raspberry Pi. That would be interesting to see. But it's a cool platform. I've got a couple of them around here myself. I'm consistently impressed, and so it's good to see that they're still focusing on and have figured out who their core market is. And I can't wait to read the 10 things thing tomorrow.
Yeah. It's really cool. I was really excited to be able to talk to Upton, because he's a real hero in this industry. He invented this thing, and he's still running it for the most part. So it's great. And their goal was not to just start a profitable business. Their goal was, Raspberry Pi Foundation is a nonprofit. Their goal was to make something for the world, and originally it was for kids, but now it's for everyone.
For sure. And there have been so many interesting things that have been built care of the Raspberry Pi, so they've obviously done a good job with it. And so you said that the 10 things we'll be able to see tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow morning.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait for that, and I can't wait to see what you have for us next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and on console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for something like a new keyboard and a mouse, or the limited time Valentine's deals right now, keyboard, mouse, headphones, mouse pad, or maybe you're looking for a webcam with the chroma key built in, or you're looking for a whole new computer. They've got those as well, like the Razer Blade Stealth 13 and a whole bunch more. And you can find all of those products, including these interesting, seemingly special edition pink line of products that are available by going to f5live.tv/razor. I actually kind of like that design. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. Let's jump back over to Microsoft. As we've bounced in and out of that topic this evening, let's talk Microsoft and something that has not been announced but was accidentally announced. And that is Xbox Live leaving just the Microsoft garden and expanding outside. And we know about this because of a game developers conference session that was listed on the website, and it was originally entitled Xbox Live, Growing and Engaging Your Gaming Community Across iOS, Android, Switch, Xbox, and PC. It is no longer called that. It is now called like Engaging Your Gaming Community cross-platform or something like that. And so it's not nearly as detailed. And the description of the session has been equally or maybe more so sanitized, but it announced that there is a cross-platform SDK coming for all of those platforms that were mentioned that will bring Xbox Live capabilities, including chat, social, and matchmaking, to every platform but Sony's. Now, obviously, Sony has been notoriously anti-engaging with anybody but themselves. Like the fact that it was big news that your Fortnite account was no longer 100% locked to PlayStation once you played there once is a big deal. Like they notoriously anti-engaging with anybody else. But effectively, as of, my guess is GDC, which is March or April, we'll have the ability as developers to include Xbox Live capabilities in games off of Xbox, which I think is a pretty cool capability.
Yeah. I mean, that means you can play with your friends even if they don't have it, or even if they're using their Switch at the time.
Right. And for a game like Fortnite, right, which is available basically everywhere, they can't take advantage of the great matchmaking capabilities of Xbox Live because the game is available everywhere. But after this, they would be able to, and in fairness, they might be able to right now. This may, if anybody was going to have the preview of this XDK, it would be Fortnite. But a game like that is looking for engagement and cross-platform player capability can use the matchmaking system, which the Xbox Live matchmaking system is great. It's able to take other games into consideration, not just the game you're playing, to be able to do matchmaking. And once you can use your Xbox account across all these platforms, the data will get even better and the matchmaking will just get better. Plus, I mean, all the social capabilities of Xbox, the chat, both text and voice in and out of game, and all that stuff is really a great capability that now developers don't have to worry about building their own version of.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big plus, and this sort of in line with Microsoft's philosophy of we're going to play on all the platforms.
Yeah.
We don't have to own the platform. I mean, we don't have to have, to just get people into our platform.
Right. The walls have come down around the garden. The Steve Ballmer days of we've already finished the iOS version of Office, but we won't release it because we don't have a Windows 8 version yet. Those days are long behind us.
But it does sort of beg a question, which is this good business for Microsoft? Like, it seems on the face of it to be good business, but if over the long haul their platforms don't have a lot of value, don't have as much value, is that still good for them? So like Cortana we were talking about before, I mean, honestly, it wasn't as good at doing, I mean, people, it started from the PC. Alexa and Google Assistant sort of started from the speaker, and the Google Assistant, I guess, from the phone to an extent, right? And so,
in fairness,
it was never as functional as those.
In fairness, Cortana started on the phone, but not in a place that mattered.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, I mean, anyway, yes, Cortana had a lot of issues. Cortana was definitely way behind the others, but giving up,
certainly in market reach.
But and so in a sense, it had become kind of a joke. But, and I guess, it's just them acknowledging reality, but at the same time, now you're just ceding territory. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point soon Alexa is, I mean, you can do Alexa on your computer, obviously, but there's some limitations. There's some limitations still. You can't wake your computer from sleep by calling for Alexa.
Right.
You have to ask Cortana if you can speak to Alexa. It's almost like, back in the day before mobile phones, and you used to call somebody like, "Hey, can I please speak to Jim?"
I've actually thought
you get someone's roommate.
I've actually thought of it more like using Cortana as a switchboard operator.
I feel like Cortana, like, nobody ever calls me. No one ever wants to talk to me. They just call me for my roommate, Alexa. But so I think at some point they're going to give it up even on that, and let at least Alexa have the hooks into the operating system. I'd like to see them make that kind of universally available as an SDK, so that Google could do it also, and maybe another company could think too. But I mean, you see other companies.
I agree on that.
You see other companies stick with things that have been less successful than Cortana.
Apple hasn't given up on the HomePod.
Hasn't given up on Siri.
Right.
They haven't given up on Samsung. Still hasn't given up on Bixby.
Indeed.
Right? I mean, if someone should have given up, it should have been them giving up on Bixby.
How Microsoft and Samsung, who are obviously good friends at this point, because Microsoft sells the Galaxy S9 and Note S9 in their Microsoft stores. Those two are obviously friends. How they did not go, Microsoft didn't go, "Hey, that Bixby thing that's like the industry joke? Why don't we just merge these things together?"
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I don't know if even together they would be successful. I think, but Samsung doesn't drop stuff so quickly. Like, they like to have their version of things, even if people have no need for it. So like, you have
the Samsung browser.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah. Why?
Who knows? Because one of the things about the Samsung browser is that not all of the protocol mapping stuff works from the Samsung browser. So if you click a link that's supposed to open an app, not guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't exist, right? I mean, it shouldn't exist. So it's, but they haven't gotten rid of it. So,
but here in this case, so to the original topic, it all depends on what Microsoft is considering their platform, right? Is the Xbox hardware their platform, or is which is purchased once and walked away from? Or is it the recurring revenue from both users who pay for Xbox Live and the recurring revenue from developers who want to be able to implement the Xbox Live capabilities into their games on the Switch? Which one is the platform that they're worried about? I think under, the way that Satya looks at things versus the way that Ballmer or Gates looked at things, the Xbox hardware, which Satya has already thought about selling that division off once, the Xbox hardware is a necessary evil to be able to support the Xbox Live platform. And if they expand it and anybody can use Xbox Live except PlayStation, the recurring revenue from developers and users is way more attractive than a one-time purchase of hardware. It's exactly what we've seen with the other side of the business. Is Windows where they're focusing? No, Azure is. Because it's recurring revenue from developers, and half the apps that people are using today. If you look at the stats on how Amazon's doing versus Microsoft, everybody is interacting with an Azure account in their regular everyday life at some point or another. They may not know it, but they're working off of Azure somewhere. But not whether you've got an iPhone or an Android or a Windows tablet, or you're using Azure and you may not even know it. So under Satya's definition, I don't think Xbox is the platform anymore. I think Xbox Live is the platform, and I think this move solidifies that. So it all depends on what they're trying to support, and I think the recurring revenue is the thing they're trying to support. So it'll be interesting to see how many people buy into it, though. How many developers buy into it? I know in the Florida Gamers Group, which I watched as this non-announcement happened, it was a pretty well-received thing, even from people who were, PC gamers and things like that. The general consensus was Xbox Live is the thing that makes Xbox. So being able to access it anywhere sounds good to me. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how it goes. Hopefully there will be more, it'll go more like Azure than Cortana, I think is what we were getting at before. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies or let the professionals do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Killers from Space. I believe they're just wearing turtlenecks, so that should explain the timeline on that film. Anyway, the way it works is for a couple of bucks, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever it happens to exist, and laugh. From time to time, they do live events, which we're hoping to hear about the 2019 lineup in the near future. But there's also short films that you can get, and those are like industry films, the things you watched in school, and they make those not painful like they were at the time. Like why springs are important. And you can find out about all of the short films, all of the films, and when the live schedule is announced, you can find out about that as well by going to f5live.tv/RiffTrax with an X. Okay. We've talked about it a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years. Cryptocurrency has definitely captivated much of the internet. Whether you are into it or not, the idea of cryptocurrency has certainly been intriguing to a lot of people. Some people look at it as a decentralization of banking and that's great. And then there's people who look at it like stocks and annuities, which is fine as well. And so there's been a lot of people who've been really interested in cryptocurrency. And Avram and I have, at every turn, tried to remind people that there are downfalls. We've seen some of these exchanges get hacked with heists of unbelievable values, and once the coins are gone, they're gone. It's not like these are banks that are, FDIC insured. These are once the coins are in somebody else's wallet, they're in somebody else's wallet. We have a new interesting problem that came up from a Canadian cryptocurrency exchange, which I cannot. Quadriga CX, I think is how you might pronounce it. Yeah. It's a new and interesting dilemma. Now, we might need to talk about the back end of how some of this stuff works. You have a wallet. Think of it like your actual wallet, and you put money in it, and you can keep, just like your physical wallet, you can either keep it at home, lock it in a safe, where unless somebody breaks into your home, that money is protected, or you can carry it in your pocket out in the wild, and somebody picks your pocket, and your money's gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's not like a credit card, right? So when you want to transfer money from one place to another, it does not matter what those two places are. When you want to transfer currency from one place to another, it goes from one wallet to another. Plain and simple. Obviously, because all of this is cryptocurrency, it's all about security. Those wallets are protected, and you've got, passwords and weird, like 60-word odd phrases and nonsense that you have to hold on to. But there's a lot of protection behind the wallets themselves, and so that's where our problem comes in this week. The CEO of Quadriga CX died unexpectedly at the age of 30, and he took with him the password for the wallet where clients' money was being held, which is obviously a problem, because without the password, those coins are locked up. There's no way to access them. They're in a bank vault that nobody can get into. Now, how much money, you ask? $137 million worth of customer currency is inaccessible. And the company, in addition to that 137 million, has another 53 million tied up in bank and payment processor disputes. So they currently owe to their clients $190 million worth of currency that they cannot access and cannot make good on. That is a lot of money, Avram.
So I'm trying to understand something.
Okay.
What currency did they actually hold? Was it Bitcoin, or was it their own proprietary cryptocurrency?
I don't think it was their own proprietary. I think it was Bitcoin. Oh, there's some interesting follow-up on this that I will get into in a little bit.
It looks like Ethereum was something that was $1 million of Ethereum. So,
well, the company's website is gone, which makes it more interesting.
I noticed that they have a message there saying like that they're looking for creditor protection.
Yes, they have actually filed for bankruptcy, because of the $190 million that they cannot pay back to their customers. And as of right now, a judge has issued a 30-day stay on nobody can file a suit against them while they try to deal with this. And after that 30 days, then people can sue. But obviously, if they're out of money, you're not going to recover from the lawsuit. But it's a fascinating situation. I believe that the company held a number of currencies, and I don't necessarily know that it's just one wallet that's in question here, because there may have been, an Ethereum wallet and a Bitcoin wallet and a whatever else there is out there, Bitcoin Gold, and the one with the MX abbreviation. They may have had multiple, but the fact is that the theory right now is that the currency is inaccessible, although I am looking at something that says that may not be true. They may actually not have the wallet, let alone have access to the wallet, which is interesting. But it's from the Wall Street Journal.
I have to admit how dumb I feel every time I read about this kind of stuff, because I don't totally understand how cryptocurrency is stored. So
that is perfectly acceptable.
It's not like money that you'd have a bank vault, and then you could get a locksmith to break into it. Nope. Or somebody could break into it. It's digital. So
you'd have to,
you lose the password, that's it.
I mean, you could try and brute force it, but that, the encryption that they use, it could take up to 30,000 years or something like that to brute force it. So
right.
And the amount of energy going into it may never pay itself back, depending on how long it takes. You could, a hacker might be able to force their way into a wallet. It has happened. There's always the possibility that the password is somewhere, or that weird 24-word bizarre recovery phrase is stored somewhere. And his wife, who was mostly inactive in the company and is now massively active because she knows him better than anybody and may hold the key to brute forcing into the wallet. She may stumble upon something on his personal laptop, or you never know where something might pop up, which is the reason why they asked for $30 to hope that they could force their way into the wallet. But if this report from the Wall Street Journal is correct, that they actually don't have the wallet at all, that's not better.
How could they not have it?
Maybe he had it on a flash drive. Maybe it's hidden somewhere. Who knows?
See,
I didn't read that headline.
So that's what I don't get about cryptocurrency, because it's not. I don't think it's backed by anything. So how would you I mean, obviously there's the I don't know. I mean, isn't there a central record of all currency exchanges for Bitcoin? Isn't that what happens when you're mining? Aren't you processing all of them?
So there's no central. There's distributed, which is actually what the blockchain is.
Right.
Is a distributed accounting ledger.
Right. So doesn't that mean everywhere it's distributed they have the whole accounting ledger somehow?
Not necessarily the whole accounting ledger. You could theoretically. I don't quite have the ledger aspect of it down. I understand the storage and the mining side, but how to set up a miner and all of that. But I don't quite have the ledger side of things quite figured out.
In related current events, Nvidia is in big trouble because of all the people who have stopped mining. Well, I should say stop mining with NVIDIA cards and AMD cards. Um,
or don't need to purchase new hardware to do it.
yes, because well, I think right. So
Because there are people who are still doing it, but using hardware they already bought during the rush.
That's true. Well, you can't even mine Bitcoin with a PC anymore. But I mean, Ethereum, I think you still can.
Mm-hmm. And Monero, that was the one I was trying to come up with earlier. Monero, that was the one that the websites were embedding into the ads on YouTube.
So SoftBank sold off their $3.6 billion of stock in NVIDIA.
Yes, they did.
Because of that.
Yep.
So Quadriga, it's your fault. But I have to say, this would make an awesome book or movie. I'm just saying, like, imagine the heist movie where someone tries to figure out how they can get into this, figure out his password so that they can get into the hidden wallet or something like that.
That the heist wasn't of the flash drive in cold storage. Somebody just picked that up out of the office or something. No big deal. But now it's all about trying to figure out what the passphrase is and trying to dig into the guy's life to figure out what the passphrase is. Yeah, that sounds like a great story.
Yes, exactly. Or if it were like an episode of Star Trek, the guy would be in some kind of a weird coma, and then they would go meet him in his brain to try and get him to tell them.
Indeed.
Right?
There was also a sci-fi thing where they could read the last 60 seconds. Maybe there was a Voyager episode. They could read like the last 60 seconds of the person's consciousness after they died or something. I don't know.
Yes. What's he thinking of his password?
Oh, that would be a fun story. I am kind of writing it in my head right now.
Yeah, this would be. I'm telling you, this could be somebody's. This is a free idea for someone. But yeah, I feel sorry for the folks that are losing their money from this.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I've said it on the show before, and I'll say it again. Don't keep your money in an exchange. It's not like a bank. There's no protection. The only time your money should be transferred into a wallet on an exchange is when you're about to exchange it or have just exchanged it. And as soon as that happens, pull it back to a private wallet that you can keep in cold storage, that you don't have to worry about it being online. Keep it on a flash drive. Put it in a safe in your home. Something. Don't treat the crypto exchanges like banks. Don't let them hold your currency, because this is the kind of thing that keeps happening. This and the heists and all of that stuff, none of it is good. All of it is preventable.
Yes. Well, part of it is, and I'll just leave it at this. The reason that I think people like cryptocurrency is it's not backed by a government, right? Mm-hmm. It's internationally, was a country independent, but that also means that there's nobody who's responsible for it.
Right. Yeah. There's no FDIC backing it. There's no protections on it. When it's gone, it's gone. There was the God, I don't remember who it was. There was a rapper who had purchased or had received early on in Bitcoin's life, had received like 100 coins when it was valued at like $20 or something, and then had never claimed it as income, and then when it got to like 10,000 or whatever it got to there, all of a sudden he had like a crazy amount of money, and the IRS came after him. It's a weird and bizarre market. And it is truly the Wild West right now. And if you've ever watched a Western, you know that the gunslingers are going to show up. I think is the point of the story. There's benefits and ups and downs to the fact that there's no backing behind it. There's, it creates that Wild West that it could go from $20 to $20,000. The U.S. dollar is never going to do that. If it's going to do anything, it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
So it creates an interesting thing, but there's also all that lawlessness that's inherent in that situation. This week's DRM Not Included in F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. Your basic benefits: free shipping, sometimes 2 days, sometimes same day, sometimes 2 hour. But there are some other things that you may not know about. There's Prime Music, which is several million tracks that you can stream for free. There's Avram's favorite, Prime Video, which gives you movies and TV shows and documentaries, both original and licensed, available as part of your subscription, including Riff Tracks movies, including those Riff Tracks live events from the past. And there's my favorite, which is Twitch Prime, which gives you one free subscription per month, which you can use to subscribe to PLUGHITZ Live if you'd like to support us or any other Twitch account. But you also get free games. All kinds of free games are available. I saw a huge list for February, and they're yours. Once they're yours, they're yours. Play them and enjoy them, and I have enjoyed a number of them myself. So, and then on top of the games, there's also in-game items that you can get that are exclusive to Twitch Prime subscribers as well. And there's a whole bunch of other features. If you're already a Prime subscriber, we have links to make it easy for you to find all of these cool capabilities. And if you're not a subscriber, we've actually got a 30-day free trial for you. And all of that can be found at f5live.tv/prime. All right. So speaking of streaming services, we know there's too many of them out there, and there's going to be more. And one of those more that Avram and I have discussed a number of times is Disney's new service, which until now has been kind of nebulous. At one point, there was talk that there would be as many as 3 independent services, one for Disney proper, one for Marvel, one for Lucasfilms. Disney wised up on that and narrowed their focus down to a single service that would serve all Disney content. And during their quarterly earnings call, we found out some information, interestingly, from Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, who let us know that the service is called Disney Plus. And that's an interesting, seemingly callback to Hulu Plus, which is a brand that Hulu did away with when they got rid of their free subscription and they got rid of the word plus off of it, which Disney officially now owns 60% of, which we'll get to in a second. And that it will, in addition to the things that we expect, all of the Disney properties, Disney proper, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and more, we can also expect to see licensed content on the platform. So stuff that's not produced by Disney, which officially puts it in direct competition with itself, Hulu, which is so strange to me. It kind of brings us back to that idea, Avram, that we've talked about over the last couple of years, that I'm not certain that any of these companies know that they own any part of Hulu.
Yeah, I think they don't like it that much because they don't wholly own it. So I think that's an issue.
But Disney's the majority stakeholder now after the merger with 20th Century Fox completing. They officially own 60% of it. They are the majority shareholder.
It's important to remember that sometimes a company will have more than one, you know, competitive brand, so to speak.
Sure.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything that sort of positions it against Hulu. Like, yes, there's a lot of content out there. So I think the question is, when you say non-Disney content, is it going to be all the content that Hulu has? Is it going to be different content than Hulu?
Right.
I would suspect that it's not going to be exactly Hulu.
Right. Yeah. I suspect that that the service will be more Netflixy than Hulu, in that it'll be more homegrown content and more grand content versus Hulu, which definitely focuses on current television. Like, that's their bread and butter. Hulu,
right.
Like, Hulu knows who they are. They have, you know, the episode of whatever show you were excited about from last night is already available on Hulu today. 5 a.m. this morning, it was available for you. Hulu pretty much knows who they are. And they work with the big three and with Turner. So, you know, ABC, NBC, and Fox. CBS is not involved in it in any way because they've got their own all access. And then Turner owns 10%. So, but not everything from those networks is guaranteed to be on Hulu. Because the Blacklist, for example, on NBC, who owns 30%, they do not appear on Hulu at all. One of the few NBC shows, actually, that is that way. They don't appear on Hulu at all. You have to watch that on NBC.com or the NBC app, which is interesting. What I'm hoping, I guess, with Disney running both of these, is that we won't see the ABC offerings on Hulu be diminished. That the stuff that we already expect to see on Hulu won't be diminished in favor of this other platform that they also own. Hopefully, it'll be more unique content, which is their goal. The goal is that it'll be almost entirely exclusive content eventually, homegrown content. But hopefully, they won't harm the offerings of Hulu in favor of Disney Plus.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, I don't know. Can you hit peak streaming? We've certainly hit peak streaming audio. There's really no need for any more audio streaming services.
Do you hear that title?
I think everyone heard that. I think everyone knows that. But on the other hand, you know, it's not like there's a lot of exclusive audio content that people really want, whereas there is a lot of exclusive video content that people want. So, like, you know, I subscribed to CBS All Access for a while just so I could watch Star Trek Discovery. Now I'm kind of biding my time till it's like almost the end of the season. Then I'll resubscribe, binge watch it, and unsubscribe again. So, like,
I've got a little bit of a trick for that, but I'm not gonna say it on the air. Use two of our sponsors together. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So so it's crazy how many different services there are. So there's going to be Disney. So if you want Star Trek, you need CBS. If you want Star Wars, you're gonna need Disney Plus.
Yep.
If you want I don't know exactly what we would say. If you want is the Netflix show. If you want
the Netflix show,
Black. Yeah, like
that one's come. This is the last season for that. Stranger Things, I think, is their
so let's say
their flagship.
right. If you want Stranger Things,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to have Netflix.
If you want Handmaid's Tale, you need Hulu.
And Hulu, yeah. And there's a couple that are on Stars, right? I mean,
I didn't even know Stars was still around.
Although I guess you could say that Stars is really a cable channel, but you can subscribe to it.
Sure.
Like, yeah. So basically, all these things really are cable channels.
Yeah.
Right.
Without the, in most cases, without the appointment television requirement.
Yeah. I mean, what Netflix is a really like a much better HBO.
Yeah.
And a better deal than HBO, even when they raise the price, because man, HBO has almost nothing that that's worth watching. Sorry, or to me anyway.
I'm with you on it.
Whereas, and even their selection of movies is pretty lame. Whereas with Netflix, it's like every time I think that there's nothing left, that there's nothing that I want to watch on Netflix, and I'm just going to cancel my subscription, just one more show comes out that month that's worth watching that month.
Yeah. Just when you think it's time to give up Netflix, they put out a special Valentine's episode of Big Mouth.
Yeah, there's always something that they, before they were so big into their original content, I wasn't so enthralled, but now there's like half a dozen shows on there at least that I'm waiting for the next season of.
Yep.
Which is not even to mention the shows that I haven't seen yet. So like, yeah, I mean it's pretty impressive, but there is a big I think I mean, I don't know. I think isn't Netflix like operating at a loss or something because of all this content?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I think I could be wrong there, but they're spending so much on content. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep it up. Yeah.
Well, we've seen them do some pruning of popular but expensive programming. They canceled Sense8 against the wishes of viewers. They just officially this week, word came out the Travelers won't be coming back for another season. So I mean, they're pruning some of the expensive to produce content. So they may be looking to try and figure out how to keep it up.
Yeah, I guess, but then, there's just a lot of wasteful, in my opinion, wasteful spending on stuff. Yeah, like, oh agreed. Man, how much did they spend making that Will Smith movie?
I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was not worth, I think they spent over $100 million on that or something.
That's an expensive movie.
Right, exactly.
That's an expensive movie for a theater release.
Right, exactly. So,
Lord.
It's but yeah, Disney Plus, we're eventually at my company and probably a lot of companies, that you can have things taken out of your paycheck, like for your health insurance and your dental. They should probably have like a benefit now for your streaming. Because eventually we're just going to be paying out of every paycheck for streaming, for everything.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, if only you could do it, maybe that's the real tax benefit we need, pre-tax Hulu, pre-tax Disney Plus. Take that $10 a month. But
I think we're going to see, right now the content is in a fairly small collection. Like the content that people really want is in a small collection of places. It's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's Amazon. That's really kind of where things are right now. But as these new services, the DC Universe and the Disney Plus, and there's 3 more Star Trek series in the works right now, including Picard coming back to TV. Right. So CBS may start to actually have have a financial appeal.
Yes.
There's, there you're going to have to start making choices on what service, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
A better choice might just be not to have cable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the industry goes. We saw, like you said, the music industry puff up real big with, some exclusives going to Tidal and some exclusives going to Apple Music and things like that. iTunes at the time. And we've seen that industry really consolidate pretty hard in a very short period of time. And, we may see the same thing over there. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate our live viewers. If you didn't join us live, that is okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. You can see this show and all of our others, including the Pilch Point from earlier this evening, and all of the previous episodes from that. You can also subscribe to our special events feed, where we've got a lot of content going on there. Our first looks, which is the robotics series, we will be at the Orlando Regional in March, and so we'll have new content coming over there, and we've got some new ideas on how to keep that going throughout the year as well, so that'll be exciting. Plus, next week we plan on Saturday on being over at the Amrock Fab Lab in Tampa, where there will be a first scrimmage, where I think there's going to be 16 teams doing a first robotics competition scrimmage. So lots of ways to interact with the content, and definitely find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and interact with us over there as well. And I guess on that note, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.